When you think of the French capital, you think of beautiful monuments, romantic cafes, pretty parks, but the truth is, for many tourists, Paris is just too dirty.
Whether it's the urine-soaked streets or the ubiquitous dog poop, real, everyday Paris certainly can clash with the postcard version.
Paris authorities have pumped money and manpower into keeping the city clean. So if then, what's the problem? Could it be the Parisians themselves?
Join us as we investigate the capital's filthy reputation.
So is Paris a dirty city? Well, it depends on what you're comparing it to. Some people would argue that all big cities are filthy in one way or another.
Well, compared to the rest of the EU, Paris is not the dirty man of Europe, though some people say it is. That would actually be Rome, according to recent EU data.
When it comes to local satisfaction for cleanliness, Paris ranks far ahead of other big capitals like Berlin or Brussels, but far behind clean leaders Luxembourg and Vienna.
I think a lot of people expect Paris to be squeaky clean because it's known for its beauty. After all, it's one of the most visited cities in the world, and it has a great quality of life.
So there's a certain kind of disappointment that some tourists feel when they come here to Paris and see things as they really are.
If it's an eyesore and a nose sore that a lot of visitors can complain about, it's certainly something that Parisians have picked up on as well.
Est-ce que Paris est une ville propre?
Ils sont à part.
Pas tous.
Non, pas du tout.
Well, I think Paris is not very clean.
Les gens sont toujours aussi dégueulasses, ça change pas.
Il y en a qui se plaignent, mais ça va, ça pourrait être pire.
Pour moi, Paris est la plus belle ville du monde. C'est pas impec.
Globalement, ce qui m'embête le plus, je vais vous dire, c'est les déjections canines.
Dites-moi, votre chien, il fait n'importe où ses besoins?
Il fait où il peut, quand il veut et quand il en a besoin.
C'est normal, les Français, c'est des gens qui s'en foutent de tout.
Mais c'est Paris, voyons, c'est naturel.
Tout le monde parle de Paris, non, c'est un peu sale, nanani, nanana, mais je trouve, en tant que Parisien, que c'est propre.
Ça sent toujours mauvais, il y a des crottes de chiens partout.
Les poubelles, elles sont quand même souvent en train de déborder.
Les gens sont très négligents, ils laissent facilement traîner des papiers, ils balancent des mégots n'importe où.
Bon, ben voilà, il y en a qui sont mal éduqués et qui se comportent mal.
Je trouve après que les gens sont sales par rapport au fait qu'il y a des gens qui nettoient.
C'est tout le temps comme ça ou...
Ah, mais des fois c'est pire encore.
De toute façon, je m'en fous.
When it comes to Parisian cleanliness, or the lack thereof, one thing that almost always comes to mind is the amount of dog poop around.
It's a real problem. Each day, 200,000 Parisian pooches produce 16 tons of waste. Now, back in the day, there used to be these municipal scooters that used to zip around the city vacuuming up dog poop. They were called les motocrottes, essentially motorized pooper scoopers, but they disappeared in the 90s.
Since 2002, it's required by law for dog owners to pick up after their four-legged friends, and while things are better, there's still a long way to go.
Now, Parisians tend to have kind of a spidey sense when it comes to dog poop on the sidewalk, something they learn from a young age, often the hard way, but it means that they can walk down the sidewalk fearlessly, often on their cell phones. But another big problem in the capital are the cigarette butts.
Now, this might not come as much of a surprise given how much everyone seems to associate the French with smoking, even though the number of smokers has gone down recently.
Each year, 350 tons of cigarette butts are picked up by the city's cleaning services. That's the equivalent of about 30 buses.
And then there's the city's rat problem, and we are not talking about ratatouille.
Pet control experts estimate that there are about 4 million rats in the capital. That is 2 rats per Parisian. Now, you can often see them rummaging around in trash cans or strolling through Parisian parks.
Paris has already spent €1.5 million in its war on rats without much success. And that is just a fraction of the hundreds of millions of euros spent every year to try and keep Paris clean.
With 2.2 million people living in a circle of just 10 kilometers, Paris is the most densely populated city in Europe, and keeping it spick and span is a tricky feat. Each year, the city spends about 550 million euros to clean the capital. That's about 250 euros per inhabitant. It hires an army of 5,000 éboueurs, cleaners who wear trademark green uniforms. These unsung heroes collect 3,000 tons of waste a day. But bad street etiquette dies hard. To crack down on bad habits, Paris authorities have increased fines quite dramatically. If you're caught throwing a cigarette butt in the street or littering, it'll cost you 68 euros. These fines are enforced by a special group called the Incivility Brigade, uniformed personnel that have the power to fine people for leaving electric scooters or bikes on the pavement, dropping litter, or failing to pick up dog mess. 3,200 agents patrol 24/7 trying to catch people red-handed. So in theory, the elements are in place for the city to be clean. But if you ask a lot of Parisians, the rules aren't systematically enforced.
Despite the millions being pumped into keeping Paris pristine, for many, the City of Light has just lost its shine.
Well, in recent months, some Parisians have taken to social media to lament the fact that the city has become a ville poubelle, a trash can city. Using the hashtag #SaccageParis, Paris is a wreck, they've been sharing things like photos of overflowing trash cans and damaged infrastructure and graffiti.
Much of the anger has been directed at the mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo. But to be fair, many of the same people who are complaining that Paris is so dirty are also slamming the mayor for her anti-pollution and so anti-car policies.
City Hall says it's a mere smear campaign and that it's doing everything it can to keep the capital clean.
So is Paris losing its luster under a mounting pile of trash, or are people just complaining more? Flo, you went to take a closer look.
Je m'appelle Amadou Meïté, je suis éboueur à Paris 11e. Je vais vous expliquer mon quotidien.
Amadou Meïté has been an éboueur in Paris for 12 years. We got to join him for one of his cleaning tours of duty.
Ah, vous avez la radio?
Ouais,
ah, trop bien.
La radio. C'est une lutte, hein? On va pas dire c'est une guerre, parce que c'est pas aussi sale que ça. C'est une lutte quotidienne avec la saleté.
He recently started working in the 11th arrondissement, one of the capital's densest districts.
Et c'est pas trop compliqué à gérer les...
Oh oui, la circulation avec les trottinettes, les vélos. Ah ouais, c'est pas du tout facile.
Cleaners like Amadou work in 2 shifts, from 5:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. They often hit well-known dirty areas, what they call black spots.
Donc là, on se retrouve dans le 11e arrondissement.
Dans le 11e arrondissement, on est sur un point noir qu'on doit traiter autour de cette sanisette.
OK.
Donc du coup, il y a des gens qui déposent des petits meubles ici, souvent il y a des crottes de chiens et tout ça. Et il y a des gens qui font pipi aussi autour de la sanisette.
Et il y en a combien de points noirs dans le 11e arrondissement?
Dans le 11e, on traite facilement une quarantaine par jour par équipe.
Ce que vous voyez le plus en termes d'insalubrité à Paris, c'est quoi?
C'est les dépôts sauvages. Après, il y a les crottes de chiens, il y a les épanchements d'urine et les petits meubles que les gens déposent par-ci par-là, ou les petits appareils électroménagers qu'aussi on prend.
Super. Bah, on va vous laisser travailler du coup.
OK.
Amadou is part of a recent program called Urgence-Propreté, a rapid response task force.
Tu peux nous appeler d'urgence, comme on l'appelle, urgence-propreté. Je peux être là en train de traiter ce point tout de suite. Les chefs peuvent m'appeler. Ah ouais, monsieur Mété, on vous appelle, allez-y dans telle rue. Ah ouais, il y a tel point à traiter. Et dès que je finis ici, je vais là-bas directement.
Parisians can also signal dirty spots using an app called Dans ma rue, in my street. Amadou says he takes a certain pleasure in keeping the city clean.
C'est pour ça qu'on fait le métier. On aime le métier, et donc dès qu'on voit un espace comme ça qui est sale, on veut le traiter en fait. On a l'amour du métier, donc dès qu'on voit quelque chose qui ne va pas, on veut le traiter pour que les Parisiens soient de plus en plus contents de nous, quoi. Aussi, il faut qu'ils reconnaissent aussi le boulot qu'on fait.
So if the means are in place, why is Paris's dirty reputation so hard to wash off?
Moi, je pense que c'est souvent aussi le comportement des riverains, hein, parce que les gens ils jettent de plus en plus l'incivisme. Quelqu'un peut nous voir en train de traiter là, et derrière moi, je suis là, derrière moi, il peut jeter quelque chose. Les gens ne respectent plus le boulot qu'on fait, quoi.
Et comment changer le comportement des gens?
Voilà, les mentalités, il faut essayer de les changer en faisant, je crois, des spots publicitaires, en essayant de se rapprocher de plus en plus de la population. Ça sent bon maintenant. Paris devient de plus en plus propre parce que quand je suis rentré à la ville, dans le secteur où j'ai commencé, c'était pas comme ça, c'était plus ça là. Hein. Avec le boulot, avec tout ce qu'on a fait, ça s'est amélioré. Ouais.
Bonne journée.
Many of you had questions about Paris's cleanliness, like Derek Curtin, who said lots of people are complaining, but using data, how does it compare to 10, 20, 30 years ago? My impression is that things are improving.
Well, it's certainly an impression a lot of people have. It's hard to find clear data on these kind of things, but there are more trash cans, people don't litter as much, and even though there's still a lot of dog poop, people are picking up more as well. So it's safe to say that over the decades, Parisians certainly have cleaned up their act.
There certainly is a lot less dog poop on the streets than before, that's for sure. All right, we have another comment now from Kathleen Sylvester. She says she loves the fact that Paris is a real, growing, diverse, interesting, historical city, not a Disneyland.
Paris is not a perfect Disneyland, though some tourists may want it to be, but that doesn't stop millions of people from visiting every year. So it can't be all that bad. Just watch your step.
That's all the time we have for today's show. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, you can tweet your own questions at Villeminot, or you can reach out on social media.
And we'll see you soon for another episode of French Connections Plus.